Hey, this is Gene from the Assisted Living Network. Let's talk about overbuilding. You know, when the market crashed, and we call it the Great Recession, things kind of changed. And when it comes to commercial investments, and assisted living and the big box facilities is a commercial type investment, most of those builders, most of those corporations just stopped. They finished whatever projects they had going and then they just stopped all new building. And that stoppage, that slowdown in the industry lasted for a number of years. Now, during those 4 or 5 years, the need for what we do, the need for assisted living didn't stop at all. People were still aging, moving in, and needed it. So what happened during that time frame when the market crashed, we'll talk 2008, it came down 9, 10, 11, 12. The building stopped, new facilities, but the need just kept filling all those beds. So now those homes, those large facilities now had full occupancy in many cases because no new ones were coming online, or fewer and less. So what happened after that? Well, a lot of people poured into this, billions of dollars into the big publicly traded companies, the hedge funds, saying we want a piece of this pie. And when you look at the numbers back in 2006 and 2000 all the way through, for about a 10-year period, the cap rates, the rate of return that they were earning on the big box facilities was in the teens, 13, 14, 15% annual rates of return. So now let's go forward 10 years. Here we are in 2018, and we're looking at this same group where now they're pouring billions of dollars in. There's a mass of big projects being built. So these big projects are being built, coming out of the ground. There's still a need, but all the existing beds got full. So now they're building, and some may say overbuilding in some areas. We'll discuss that. But they're building these beds, and they're being filled as time goes on. Now, I want you to know something. The big corporations are big money, not necessarily smart money. Now, I don't mean to say anything negative about anybody who's listening to this, but they have a different criteria. They get paid when they raise capital, they get paid when they deploy capital, and they get paid to manage the asset. And if they're managing billions of dollars, making a few percent, 3, 4, 5, 6% is wonderful. But you and I as individual investors, or smaller groups of investors, if we were making 3 or 4% on a few hundred or a few million, that's not going to work. We need to make a lot higher rate of return. We want the high teens, 20s or 30s, or with leverage even more. 30, 40, 50% rates of return. That's what we need, and that's what we can get, because on a smaller basis, we have the opportunity to leverage, be in the best position, and be in the best locations. So when we talk about overbuilding, I want you to think about it differently. That big corporation that put in that $50 million complex, it's on 20 acres, it has independent living, then it has assisted living, and then it has skilled nursing, all in that same complex. That's called a CCRC, Continuous Care Retirement Community. The people who live in there, they start typically in the independent living, and many times they pay a fee to enter. That fee to enter may be an investment, it may be refundable, but many times it's not. It could be $50,000 up front to get in. It could be $250,000 up front just to get in. It could be $500,000 or $1 million just up front to get in, with the expectation that they're moving into the independent living, having a smaller monthly fee, because really there is no personal care. It's just somebody taking care of the house, the maintenance of the house, but no personal care. Then when they need it, they'll be able to move right next door to the assisted living and pay a higher monthly fee. And if and when they need it, they'll be guaranteed a spot in the skilled nursing or nursing home that's all in that same complex. That continuous care retirement community that I just laid out for you is what the big box facilities do, not what we do. If we're just doing assisted living, or prior to that it might be adult daycare or Golden Girl housing, and I'll talk about that in another segment, or the assisted living, where should we locate ourselves? Well, I'm going to suggest to you that they've done the market research. That large corporation that raised billions and is now investing tens of millions, they're not just doing it because they hope it works out. They spent a lot of money on the market research to know that where they're building is the perfect location, based on the number of people there, the amount of money that they have, and the age of those people there, the demographics and the ability for them to pay. They're in the right place at the right time, and they're going to be there for decades. So if you're going to ask me overbuilding, I would say if you see a big box facility coming to your town, good sign. Where should you locate? At the end of their driveway. Now I mean that figuratively, but if you can do that literally, that's awesome. Because if you are right there within a few miles of where they are, you know they did the market research for you. You know the people are there, and if they know that you're there and you are an alternative, you're that boutique home versus that large institutional over here, well, you are definitely be much more attractive to a lot of people, but you've only got 10 or 12 beds and they've got 212. You have a better product in the right location, and that's the key. Overbuilding? Let them build. It just tells me that they're at the right place at the right time, and so are we when we do it right there. By the way, you may be in an area where there is no building at all. There is a smaller population, maybe 10 or 20,000 people in your community. They still need assisted living. The big boxes will probably never locate there. As a matter of fact, you may be the only alternative for somebody to stay there versus move to another town or state to get the care they need. Your opportunity is higher, but it's also different because less people will be aware of what it is you do, what it is you provide, so the education process is going to take you more. So overbuilding, I don't see as a problem. I see it as an opportunity. We know where to do it, we know it's the right place to do it, and we absolutely know that it is the right time to do it. This is Gene from the Assisted Living Network saying do good and do well. If you like what you've seen and heard, please subscribe.